Hello, you guys. We have photographer Charlotte Hagoort, right? Is that how I say your last name?
Almost
Oh,
correct. Hagoort, but it's Dutch, so it's difficult.
okay. So, yeah, we have you on the show today, and I'm so excited to share your story. I love sharing other people's stories on how they got started in their brand photography or just photography in general. And it's nice to hear the stories of different people just to um, kind of learn from others. And so that's why I wanted to interview today, because I'm curious about how you got into like workshops and your photography business. And so, yeah, thanks for being here today on the show.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me.
Yeah.
It's really nice. Yeah.
And you said this was your first podcast ever, so I feel really excited that
Yeah,
I get to be the first
never
one.
exactly.
Yeah.
Never did that, so yeah, it's gonna be nice. Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
it's fun to
Yeah,
be on other people's podcasts and learn how they do it. I've been on a few other
exactly.
ones, and it's just fun to like share your story and get to connect with other people. So it's a nice way to build
Yeah.
your brand as well as like a
Yeah,
photographer.
exactly.
So
Yeah.
yeah, also wanted to share how I found you because it's so
Oh,
random.
yeah. I don't know if I know that
No,
story
you
actually.
don't. We've never
Okay.
met formally, so this is like our
True.
first time meeting, which is fun.
Yeah.
The power of the internet. So yeah, I was actually
Yeah.
teaching a workshop, a master class, about like finding your visual edge as a photographer. And somebody asked this question about like how do you keep up with like being creative and being inspired? And I was like, well, the way I've done it was I've gone to different workshops, I've learned from other photographers. So if somebody's putting together like a workshop to, build your portfolio, it's a great way because then like you learn from somebody else how they light, how they style, or the concepts they come up with. And of course, like Instagram and Google, they're listening. So after my masterclass, I got on Instagram and I got your ad for your workshop, your
Oh,
retreat.
yes. Okay.
So you're hosting a
Yes, yes,
retreat
yes, yes.
in June
Exactly.
in Italy.
Yes.
And I was like, oh, I was like, that's so weird. I'm like, okay, they're listening in.
Yeah.
And
That's
I was
funny how it
like,
works.
okay, so let's check this girl out. Let's see what she has.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, sounds so amazing. I'm like, I'm in Sweden. I can make it to Italy. That's easy. So I checked you out and I was like, this is so cool. So then I invited you to do the interview.
Yeah, true,
And
true.
so, yeah,
Cool,
I want to learn a
cool.
little bit
Yeah,
more about you and how you got into photography and how that started
yeah.
for you. So why don't you kind of give us a little um, rundown on that?
Collaborate, yeah. So where to start? I mean, it's no, I don't know if it's a long story, but it's yeah, it's a story. I never studied photography or did anything like yeah. I studied something completely different, so my path began somewhere completely different than where I am now at. So to say, well, I'm Dutch, as maybe people already know or don't know. Anyhow, but I'm living now in Barcelona since 10 years. In the Netherlands, I studied actually physiotherapy. So I'm officially a physiotherapist, which is quite funny. So, how do you become a photographer from being a physiotherapist? But during my studies, I just, yeah, I always liked photography. I always had a passion for it. But back then, in 2009, there was no Instagram, there was no social media, it was nothing. And I thought, like, what can you do with photography? I mean, I like it, but like, I don't know. I just didn't really put too much thought in it. So, and I had so many interests. So I thought, okay, I just go for that and, let's see where it's taking me. But then yeah, I liked photography. So like I had a camera, I bought like my first, like, reflex camera, Canon 550D. Maybe people know it. And I just went on the street and I did like a lot of like detail shots, street photography, all these kind of things. And then I put that on my Facebook page. And then friends who got married or who wanted to get married reached out to me and asked, "Do you want to shoot our wedding?" And for me, that was already like was a dream. Like I thought back then, oh, if I could shoot a wedding and get paid, my gosh, that like I mean, that's like my ultimate goal,
Yeah.
I thought. And then it happened. Like, okay, we're friends, but still, I shot the wedding. It was really beautiful. They had a really beautiful wedding, actually. I created a website. I put the wedding pictures on my website. Back then, I think was only Facebook. Anyhow, from that wedding came another wedding, and another. And then the year after, I had 22 weddings
Wow.
booked. So it was like, yeah, it was. I mean, I said yes to every wedding that I got, but it was really nice, and I felt like the passion, and I felt like yeah, the photography, that I like it even more than my actual job as a physiotherapist. So, well, I started with weddings during my studies. So when I graduated, I worked for 4 months as a physiotherapist in a praxis, but then I moved to Barcelona, and I decided to move to Barcelona for a year and see where it's taking me. If I don't like it, I go back, and I can still go to do physiotherapy. But I wanted to go to Barcelona and pursue my photography and do weddings in Spain. So this is what I did. To make a long story short, I came to Barcelona and I started to do some projects for Pronovias, and that's a wedding brand from Barcelona. And I did like some photos backstage. There were models there, really nice models as well. Even Victoria's Secret models that were backstage back then, 10 years ago. And I thought like, oh wow, that's nice shooting with models. It's easy, I tell them something and they just do exactly what I have in mind, like the concept. So this is like how I grew a little bit into fashion. So I had like a transition from weddings into what I do now, like fashion photography and shooting for brands. So so yeah, that is a bit how my photography started off.
Wow.
From starting with weddings and now doing fashion.
That's so
Yeah.
cool. So why was it Barcelona? Was it because of the wedding, just the weddings,
No,
or did you have some sort of connection to Barcelona?
I did an internship in Barcelona and I liked it so much. I liked the lifestyle and I think the weather.
Mm,
The weather is so much better here than it is in the Netherlands. So I think I escaped the rain and the gray weather, and it just felt like home here.
mhm.
So I decided to, I don't know, it was just like a feeling I need to be here.
Yeah.
And then yeah, I'm still here 10 years later.
Yeah. Wow, that's
Yeah.
amazing. I
Yeah.
went to Barcelona 2 years ago, and the night before I slipped and fell on my steps and I broke
Oh
my
no.
rib. So my memory of
No.
Barcelona is like walking
Oh
around
my
with a
God.
broken rib. You
Oh,
can't
that's
do
not
anything
nice.
for a broken rib, but I remember Barcelona was very beautiful. Like just the
Yeah.
weather was so nice. Everything was
Yeah.
like really just a nice experience, other than like me walking around in pain the whole time. But that's so nice that
Nice.
you're
Yeah,
in
that's what,
Barcelona. I mean, I'm sure
yeah.
it's like always sunny and well, hopefully always
Yeah.
sunny. I mean, I'm in Sweden where it's
Most
dark.
often. Often, yeah. I remember the first time I came to Barcelona, it was in 2007, I think. No, no, that's not true. Well, I don't remember. Anyway, it was later, I think 2010 something. Anyway, I came there and the first day I thought, oh, I could live here. I knew it from the beginning. Like sometimes you have that feeling, oh, I could live here. And then it came true like a few years after.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also
Yeah.
lived in Brussels. So I mean, you move around and you kind of know where your place is.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's like a feeling that you get. And so yeah,
Yeah.
I know the feeling. I mean, I'm in Stockholm
Yeah.
and I love it here. I think it's such a beautiful city. And a lot of people are like, "Oh, but it's so dark." Well, you kind of get over it at some point, but the darkness
Yeah.
really can be like the thing that
In winter, right? In
yeah.
winters.
It's like sometimes around like what, 2 o'clock, the sun is gone in the
Yeah, that's
winter,
crazy.
and it's
That's
just so
crazy.
hard. So,
Yeah.
yeah, that's kind of why like I do a lot more studio styled shoots because it's just too hard to have outdoor shoots out
Yeah.
here. So,
Yeah.
yeah. But I do see that like I kind of checked out your work and I saw that you do mostly outdoor
Hmm.
like environmental shots, mostly
Yeah.
outside, right?
Yeah.
Is that your choice by choice, or is it like kind of like have you ever gone into like studio work as well?
Yes, I did. But not so much.
Mm.
And also because I can be much more creative outside.
Yeah.
For me, the sun is my natural light, or if you have clouds, but I can be. I can move. I feel I can be free. I can move around. I love shooting in nature, being in different places. And studio for me, it limits my creativity.
Hmm.
While other photographers maybe don't have that. I was funny. I had a conversation with another photographer, and she was super much into studio photography, and she felt more inspired in the studio than outside. So it's so funny how that can be for each of one. It's different.
Hmm.
For me, it's that, and also now I'm shooting analog, so of course that is nicer to be outside, like in the
Yeah.
yeah, with natural lighting. But for me, it's just like a creative thing. And to be in nature as well. I love that.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
saw that. And I think that's also why I was drawn to your work because I feel like I would love to do more outdoor styled photos,
Mm.
but sometimes I feel like I'm limited because of the weather here. There's such a short window of being outside. So I feel like
Yeah.
that's where like I feel weakest being outdoors
Yeah.
because I used to shoot
Yeah.
outside, but now it's been so long that I am mostly shooting like in a studio. So I would like to hone in on those skills, and that's kind of what like drew me into your workshop because I was like, "Ooh, yeah,
Nice.
I'd love
Yeah.
to like do more outdoor stuff." But
Yeah.
yeah, I'm kind of limited as well on my time here in Sweden. Like
Yeah.
we have good light and stuff.
Except in summer maybe, right? In
Yeah,
summer
and
you
I'm
have long
always
days.
gone over the summer. Like we have a summer house.
Oh,
So I have two
okay.
kids and if I want to be with them during the summer, but we have to go down south to
Okay.
our summer home. And we spend pretty much the whole summer there. At some point, my kids are probably going to be over it and be like, I want to hang out with my friends. So for
Yeah.
now, I'm, down there, but maybe at some
Uh,
point I'll have more time up here in the city and I can explore that. But I feel like I'm never shooting other than like maybe documenting my kids. It's not the
mm.
same. So, I mean,
Yeah.
I could do
Okay.
some,
Well,
well, I could, but I feel like I want to challenge myself a little bit more with like natural light versus, doing only like studio. But I do
yeah.
like to mix my natural light with flash because I like that
Mm,
extra
yeah.
pop in like the
Yeah.
photos for me personally.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Cool. Nice.
I don't mind like mixing those two. Do you feel like you ever like mix a little bit, or is it only purely natural light that you're working with?
No, I also do Flash,
Hmm.
but it depends. It depends on the situation. It depends on the shooting. I love Flash, and I think Flash becomes a little bit more trendy now as
Hmm.
well. And with film Flash, it looks really nice. And especially, yeah, it also gives, of course, this fashionable look. I do Flash, but mostly, like most of my work, you will see it's natural lighting.
Yeah.
But I do it more and I like to play around with it. I like to be creative. Yeah, sometimes I do in my own time. Yeah, I try and play a bit with different kind of lightings and see if it's nice. And sometimes I also notice that by myself, you're in a phase. Sometimes you have a phase of using flash, then more natural light, and more this or that. It's just yeah, kind of you're never stuck to one thing, I believe. And I think it's also not good. I think it's always good to challenge yourself and to try things out that you maybe never did. So yeah, that's
Yeah,
cool.
I want to talk about that because I feel like a lot of people get stuck in one style, and I'm one of these people that like I kind of like challenging myself, so I'm not afraid
Mm,
to like try different things for different people. But I do see a lot of people being very like consistent with only doing one kind of style of photography, which is fine if that's their thing. But I like for me to feel stimulated, I have to kind of challenge myself or try something different, but still try to keep it in my voice and, with the toning and everything. But I think that a lot of people struggle with finding their editing style, their creativity style. Do you
mm.
see what I'm saying? Like, so do
Yeah,
you have any tips for
definitely.
anybody who might be kind of in that space of like they're exploring, but how do I keep it consistent in my own voice?
Yeah. So, I mean, I think every photographer is struggling with that. And me personally, I also struggled with that. I think it is not bad to have, I mean, it's good to have your own style, but I think we are in a process. We're always getting better because we have more experience, we do different kind of things. So I think our work still elevates, and that's in a positive thing. So things can slightly change. For me, I experienced some with my work, I had my work, but I was never 100% satisfied about the results. There was always something missing, or like the white balance was not good, or it was too, maybe too warm or too cold, like, or too green or too pink. I don't know. There was like something. I also never could really say what it was. I just know, okay, this is not what I want. And sometimes I was satisfied and sometimes not. Or sometimes, I mean, maybe you recognize or you noticed it as well. You edit your pictures and then you like them. The next day you look back and you think, oh no, I need to redo my whole editing. I don't like it anymore. So that happened to me so often.
Yeah.
And it's just like it's just like really a process of finding the true, yeah, your true style. And it's good. It is okay if it's changing over time. But what for me changed is from analog or from digital to analog. That really changed my work. And I did that recently. I mean, I just now shooting full time analog, like film,
Wow.
since a year, 1 year only. I did that before, but I never really pursued 100% because it was too expensive. And I thought, okay, just spending all these film rolls, I can just pay my rent with that, you know? So I never really dared to do the full step, even though I liked photographing analog. What changed for me is beginning of last year, I did like an A/B testing. So I had a shoot and I did digital and film. And after that, I compared them together and I just realized, okay, film is just like, I'm just 100% convinced this is who I am. This is what my work needs to represent. And this is how I found out that, okay, I made the decision not doing digital anymore, but just only doing film. Just the colors, the feeling, the way of photographing. I'm photographing so much more intentional because with film you have limited of photos, so you are more intentional of what you are, like when you do the click, you know,
Hmm.
um, you do just a few clicks on certain like positions or compositions and then you move on. You do, so you have a variety of photos, and it's just like the way of photographing but also the results. And I saw that also in my so I on my Instagram I had a lot of old work. I deleted a lot of that, like a lot of my old work, and just keep the new, yeah, the analog versions of my Instagram or my website now. So for me, to sum up, I'm talking a lot,
No, it's fine.
is is yeah, like finding your, it's a process. So for me, finding out that film photography is my way of work, of my, like where I really feel 100% convinced, okay, I'm now really satisfied with my work, was just a process of finding out. And some people have that with editing. You can, as a tip, if you're shooting digital, maybe you can work with editors that do it for you or help you in the process. If you just don't find the right, you know, like that you're really 100% convinced of that you like it, like maybe try to find it out with an editor to get just the right white balance or the right color in your style. And it might change over the years, might be, but it's always good to try out. Yeah.
So when you're working now with analog, do you have somebody editing your photos or are you doing it yourself?
So I send them to a lab. So they develop the film rolls for me and they scan it for me. And basically, when they come back scanned, they are kind of ready. I don't need to edit them so much. The only thing that I might do is some contrast light, some contrast um, adjustments, or maybe putting a little bit more light, or maybe take a little bit out of the green when if it's too much. But it's just very small adjustments that I do. So that is what I love about film. You know, it comes back and it's kind of ready. It has already it's yeah, its charm, its colors,
Mm.
its gray, the grain that I love in photos. I love grain in photos. And it depends which film roll you're using because each film roll has its own kind of style. So yeah, that's nice. You save a lot of time because there's not a lot of editing involved.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
remember I went to a workshop for weddings back in the day. I
Mm.
thought I wanted to do that. And then I
Okay. Yeah.
quickly realized, no, that's not for me. I don't have the time for it because my husband
Yeah.
needs my attention and my kids.
Yeah.
Being away
Yeah.
every weekend wasn't going to work for me. And that's kind of why I shifted the direction of where I wanted to go with like my photography business, but
Yeah.
I did take a workshop where we learned to just shoot on film, which I had been doing already. I went to art school. I went to school in San Francisco and I was
Yeah.
developing film like all day long, so I know how to do that.
Cool.
But I had let it go for so long that I kind of wanted to refresh, and it was really nice because we did this workshop with some models and we just, I got to see how somebody else is working with the models and shooting film. And they were using medium format, but I just had my little like 35 millimeter film camera. And I loved the photos. It's just like a different feeling that you never will get with like like a digital camera. So I love the feeling and I know what you're talking about. It's like when you get those like the scans back, it's just like, whoa, you don't have to do much, right? So we were
Yeah.
using, I think it was Carmen Sita Film Lab,
Ah.
and
Mm-hmm.
they like I remember when you are giving them the film or like you fill out all the info, they ask you kind of like which direction do you want your film to go in? Is it cooler? Is it warmer? And what kind of film are you going to be using? Are you going to be using Fuji or Kodak? So I remember
Mm.
like this whole
Yeah.
process of figuring out like which way do you want to go. So they're kind of already guiding you in the direction of like
Yeah.
what's it going to look and feel like in terms of like the
Yeah.
warmthness or the coolness and the
Yeah.
graininess, right? So I do believe that there's something about film that's just so amazing. But of course, there's so much risk that can go in there because if something goes wrong and everything's gone, you
Yeah.
put all this effort and time into the
Yeah.
shoot, especially working for brands who are paying you to like accomplish a task for them to market their
True.
business. Like, how do you deal with that? Does that like do you ever have the digital backup like a like the camera? How does
Um.
I would be a
Yes,
little
I
bit
know.
scared that like what if some one day like something went terribly wrong? Not to like jinx
True.
anybody, but like,
True. No. Yes. Yeah.
insure
No,
yourself.
get that. I get that. At the beginning, it was very scary. I must say, at the beginning, I did backup, like digital
Yeah.
backups. I didn't use them, but I just shot some digitals as well, just in case, you know.
Mhm.
But I think it's just finding your confidence with film. Like once you do it more and more, you just know it's gonna be turn out good. With film, you can also do some mistakes, you know. Like in the lab, they can really, like, if it's a lighting mistake, they can correct that. The thing is with digital, also things can go wrong. Like your SD card can
Yeah.
get broken, or like, I mean, there are so many things that can go wrong with digital as well.
Yeah.
Um, but um, but yeah, I think it's good. I mean, if you feel, I do sometimes shoots where I do some digital backups, but also sometimes the brand is asking for it. So if they're asking for it, I do it. But I try not, like, if I can, I just shoot analog, just because of the mindset, like, if I shoot analog, it's kind of, I'm in the middle of a movie. I'm just like focusing only on that, and I kind of forget everything that is around me,
Mhm.
and it's just like so nice. And if I need to switch all the time, I get like distracted in my creative flow. So to not disturb my creative flow, I try to only use film. um and yeah, and I mean, yeah, if you have the mindset that something can go wrong, then
Of
you're
course.
just panicking, and then it can happen both ways. So it's always a risk, I think. But it is, I think every photographer is thinking about that. Every photographer has like some anxiety that something goes wrong, and especially if it's a big project, or like a project that gives like
Yeah.
they pay a lot, then the stress level is a little bit higher.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I
Yeah.
remember watching on YouTube one of these like uh, documentaries of a photographer, like a famous photographer, and one guy was like, "Yeah, I forgot to put the film in the camera and shot." I'm
Oh.
like, "How do you miss
Oh,
that?" So
that's crazy.
crazy.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, but that's so cool
Yeah.
that you are just shooting film now. I mean, not that many people
Yeah.
are doing that in terms of like working with brands. And how do the brands, um, like feel about that? Are they excited about that, or like have you told them, like, yeah, I
Yeah.
mostly shoot film? Like, what are their responses?
Well, actually, there are a lot of brands who really love
Hmm.
film, and there are even brands that they want only
Yeah.
film. They don't want digital. So you have those as well. I just shot for a brand that was not familiar with film at all. So I kind of pitched that to them, or I just explained what film is, what film looks like. They saw my work, and yeah, they just liked it. So they were like kind of open. Okay, let's try it, you know? So yeah. And sometimes it's also, yeah, some brands are not familiar with it, but they maybe want to do the switch or they want to test it. Um, and at the end, it's like they see my work on my Instagram. So if they book me, they just see my work and then they just trust, okay, it's gonna be
Hmm.
the work that the colors and the feeling and everything that they see on my Instagram or on my website. That is what they get, but they can only get that with film. I cannot reproduce that with digital. So it is kind of like
Yeah.
what the, yeah,
How are people
yeah.
finding you for work, or are you pitching to brands, or like how does it work for you?
Both ways. Mostly they find me through Instagram. And then often through Instagram, they go to my website and then maybe they apply or they reach out on my website or sometimes even through Instagram. But I must say, I reach out a lot. And I think every photographer should do that because you cannot just lay back and expect that they find you because there are like so many photographers. So yeah, you just need to, it's just about networking as well. Sometimes from one shoot comes another shoot, it goes really natural. um, Somebody knows someone, but I often also reach out and say, hey, look, here's, like, I'm Charlotte, I'm a film photographer, I love your collection, I love your work with you, I would love to work with you one day. Sometimes I have a specific idea, and I ask them if they are open for sharing my idea, pitching my concept to them. So there are different ways to reach out to clients. That is also what I also gonna explain more into depth and details during the retreat, for example. What are the ways? What is working? What is not working? Um, I did a lot of testing because I did, like, I mean, I reached out to I don't know how many hundreds of brands already, and I just found my way of like, okay, I know this is working and this is not working, and the industry is also changing all the time, so you always need to adjust. And but it's a two ways. But I think mostly I reach out to other clients, and from there things goes naturally flowing. They come to me, they come to, or sometimes you have a client and they just rebook you. You just have like a fixed client, which is nice. So yeah.
Great, that's good. So let's talk about how you got into workshops and getting these retreats
Mm,
together, because I know that some people that are listening are curious about that, that want to get into that
yeah.
and offer that to people. What made you start doing that? Like, did you just want to learn, like teach, or yeah, how did you get into
Yeah.
that?
So I did retreats myself. I mean, I attended retreats. So the first retreat or workshop that I attended was 10 years ago, actually. And it was also about film. It was a wedding workshop basically with film photography. And I remember that 10 years ago, I thought to myself, one day I also want to do this. This is so fun. This is so cool. And when I'm like in a certain level, or I don't know, when I feel ready, I would love to do and organize a retreat or a workshop. Um, so I knew already 10 years ago that one day I want to do that. And last year, I just decided, you know what, I just go for it. I learned a lot doing the way. I did like mentoring myself a lot. So I learned a lot along the way from my own mistakes. And I think I'm already like 10 years within the starting within like shooting fashion. And I mean, COVID hit and there were like certain circumstances that slowed my work down. But I think if I would, I don't know, I wanted to create a retreat that I would wanted to attend or have those information if I would start out or if I would just wanted to dive deeper into my business. So last year, not that I thought I would be 100% ready for it, but I thought you never feel ready to do something. So I thought, you know what, I'm just gonna test it. And last year I did my first retreat, and I hosted it for Dutch photographers, only Dutch people. It was a really small group of 6 people. I didn't have space for more because also of the accommodation. But it was fine. I wanted to have it like some intimate kind of a, yeah, retreat, also for myself to test it. But then it was so fun to organize it, so fun to produce it. I love production in general. I love producing for clients and helping with the production. So it was a lot of work, but it was really fun. And I love like connecting with people. I love also mentoring and teaching, but also organizing. So all these aspects I just loved. And then I did the retreat, and the feedback was really positive. Like the people who attended, they were really happy. Yeah, so I left the retreat with, okay, wow, this was so nice. I want to do this again. And when I came back, I just kind of started looking into location. Where can I do my next one? I was like so full of adrenaline and so full of like motivation. So I decided, okay, I do Italy. Some I decided for Italy. I had multiple locations in my mind, but through people I talked, through some connections, I decided Italy. And yeah, and this time it's going to be international. So this time there will be space for 10 people. So it's a little bit bigger, but I still want to keep it a little bit intimate because I think it makes it more valuable than to have like a really big group. Um, and yeah, so this time 10 international. And I don't know, did I answer your question, or was there
Yeah,
something
yeah.
else? I don't
Yeah, I was
know.
just curious about how you got into like getting there. So how does it work when you are, I mean, I guess you would treat it like if you were going to shoot somewhere, in another country, sourcing models, because we're doing shoots there.
Yes,
So there's
yes.
going to be the business aspect where you're working on that side, but then you get you have actual models that we're photographing.
Yeah,
So it's like
yeah,
portfolio building, like the business
exactly.
side, but also just meeting people and the space. I saw the place. It looks so beautiful. So
Hmm.
I'm really like, it looks so awesome.
Yeah. Yes, I wanted to create a retreat. I mean, portfolio building is like a really strong key point. And really want to invest a lot of time to it. And also like the models that I pick, they will be like really nice models to have in your portfolio because it's not just like having pretty pictures. I mean, a nice shoot also really depends which kind of model you have. Like
Mhm.
it's good to have a like a high quality model. It like really just elevate your photography, your portfolio. Um, I shot with many different types of models, so I just wanted to also give the possibility to shoot with really good models that are really nice for your portfolio, that you know for sure, like okay, they are amazing and they look amazing and they look stunning. Um, and why is it so important, portfolio? Because I experienced firsthand with my work that I had a few years ago. I reached out to brands and I said, "Hey, this is my work. I would love to work with you." Well, kind of pitch to them, trying to get them on board. But then I never got any response back. But now, like this year, I reached out again, but with my new portfolio, with my new work, with more intentional shooting, with better quality of in my opinion, like of everything, and also the transition from digital to analog. And it just changed because the brands that I pitched to like a year or 2 years ago, like they didn't reply back, but now they reply back and they even say, "Oh wow, your portfolio is so beautiful, your work is so beautiful, we really want to explore working with you." So it is just such a game changer to have the right work and the work that you want to represent, and the clients that you want to work with, your work should represent that as well. You cannot pitch to clients and your work is just not representing that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I want to just really, it's just such a game changer because you can have all the tools and all the knowledge and insights of the industry, but if your work or your yeah, whatever you want to or whatever you want to go through is not representing that. Like you kind of aiming like nowhere. So that is why I also want to organize this retreat. Also, of course, to get all the industry insights and all the things that are working and not working. It's also very much like for personal growth, for like your well-being. It's very, I want people to attend the retreat, coming but leaving as a different person or with a different mindset or as a different photographer. That is my goal, not to leave the same, but leave different with a different mindset, and different portfolio and different pictures where you can get your dream clients with.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I think that's important when you're considering like all the different aspects of a shoot, right? I mean,
Yeah.
sometimes I'm working with new brands that are just starting and they're coming to me for the photography, and I have to explain to them that the models that you are choosing are really
Mm.
important because that's going
Yes.
to be representing your business. You can't just pick a friend who like you think could be the model because if they don't know how to move or show off the clothing or pose in front of the
Yeah.
camera, like it can
Exactly.
really just make things fall apart. It doesn't look right.
Exactly.
So I feel like there's a lot of things that small, like new startup businesses that are brands, maybe selling like the clothing, right? They fail to think about that. They're thinking about their
Absolutely.
items, but they're not thinking about the actual visuals. And of
Absolutely.
course,
Yeah.
like that's our job as the photographer to guide them on that, but they don't think about
Yeah.
that ahead of time, and so their budget sometimes doesn't allow for that. And I think that
Yeah.
that's something that they should consider before booking the photographer. There's so many things that small business owners fail to know ahead of time.
Yeah.
So I think as photographers, it's like our job to inform them, but it's not always easy because like they don't want to do that work ahead of
Yeah.
time. But it's
Yeah.
like in order for this to make it work, we all have to combine
Yeah.
together, but you have to know some
Yeah.
things ahead of time so that you get the
Yeah.
results that you want. So, yeah.
Exactly.
But I'm really
Yeah.
looking forward to the retreat, and I thought like this would be a great way for you to talk about the retreat. And I don't know if you
Yeah.
got more how much space you have left, but if there's anybody listening now who wants to attend the retreat, I'll be there.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
yeah, just like we'll put it in the show notes for people to click on the website and get more information. But I don't know when you're having to like get like those spots filled, but it's not that many, I guess. So hopefully, yeah.
Four spots left, so there's still time,
Okay.
and
Did you
yeah,
say
so
four
there's still
spots?
space. Four spots
Okay.
are are free.
Hmm.
Yeah, so
All
four
right.
people can come. So which is nice
Yeah.
that we already have six, and yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
me too. I'm
Yeah.
excited. And I think it's really important as a photographer in general, no matter like what genre of photography you're shooting, is to like keep learning, keep expanding, trying different styles and just like pushing yourself to improve. And I totally agree with you from the beginning. Like, you'll always feel like you can improve. And there's always something that you're like, I wish I would have done this, or I wish I would have
Yeah.
maybe had more time to edit. Because sometimes I feel like people are in such a rush sometimes to get their images that you're like,
Mm.
okay, I don't have time to think and like or you
Mm.
have your way of like toning and stuff, but you can't give 100% like attention to what like the details are because they're like we need it like in 3 days,
Hmm.
so you're just like
Yeah.
okay. And then sometimes, so that's the positive part I guess
Yeah.
about like the film aspect, is that you already know what it's going to be like so like what it's
Exactly.
going to look
Exactly.
like or the toning and stuff. But if you're still shooting in digital, sometimes like you have to like upload, do the whole like toning and you know
Yeah.
whatever
Yeah.
little details you want to enhance. But it-
I once went to like a retreat. There was the first retreat 10 years ago, and the photographer said, "Well, time is money, And like film is very expensive, of course, if you need to buy the film and processes and everything. But then with digital, you have what you said. You need to upload them, you need to select them, you need to edit them. And selection with digital is always very hard because you always take like easily 1,000 or 2,000 pictures, and some people even more. But anyway, so to make a selection is just already a day. And then all the editing, at least like you, what, maybe spending a week. And with film, like you send them 3 days after they are back, and you spend one day to just like, adjust them, and that's it. So instead of, and he said, for example, like he was a wedding photographer, he did wedding on films. He said, instead of doing one wedding, you can do two weddings. So because of the editing time, because you have less, you save time with film, and time is money. So it seems more expensive, but at the end you can do more, but you have less work. Anyway, it was a nice eye opener, because it's true. But we think, oh, we need to buy the film. So it's like actually money that we need to spend, and time doesn't feel like spending money, but it is actually like, yeah,
Yeah, I know a lot of photographers that sit there being like, yeah, I don't know. Should I edit it like this? Should I put the toning like this? And they can sit
yes.
there for hours just even
And
making that
this, yeah.
decision. Now I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, no, I just quickly go with my gut on like maybe like what they told me, how they want it to feel and stuff like that. And I go based off that. But I really try hard to like not spend too long figuring it out because you're wasting money. Your time
Mm.
is money. And of course, you
Yeah.
can outsource and have people do that for you. But I feel like that part is really important for me to have my hands on just to see what the toning will look like. And then, of course, you can
Yeah.
outsource the editing, like, the fine
Yeah.
tuning parts. But then, of course, that's extra time. So now I've been using this AI editing app called Evoto AI.
Oh,
And
heard about that. Yeah.
and it's seriously crazy. I can upload a whole gallery for like just face retouching
Ah,
and
okay.
it's done
Right.
in
That's
30
good.
seconds or like
Yeah.
yeah, it's insane and it looks good. It looks
Yeah.
like a retoucher did
Yeah.
it.
Well, that's
And
good.
you
Yeah.
can
That's,
adjust it to the different levels you want because like it could
yeah.
go really far, like really retouched, or keep it
Exactly.
natural but still retouched. And I really love that
Yeah.
because it's cut my editing in half. And I'm
Yeah.
worrying about all like these retouchers because like I'm getting bombarded left and right. They like in my emails, they're calling my phone. I'm like, oh my gosh, sending me
Yeah.
like,
They're desperate.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's crazy.
AI. Yeah. Well, we'll see where that
Yeah.
brings us.
Yeah. No, but I think that's
Yeah.
interesting that you're going opposite because like AI is taking over. So like if you are shooting analog, I mean that puts you in a different position because now you have something unique to offer
Mm,
somebody
mm,
and it's like you found another positioning that makes like what I call your visual edge.
mm,
That's your visual edge, right? So nobody else can reproduce that, and that's like your thing.
mm.
So I think that's really important to figure it out as a photographer. Like, how can you not be reproduced or taken by AI
Yeah.
bots? It's so crazy
Yeah.
now with the AI stuff, but that's another show.
Yeah. I
But
know.
yeah, so I think that's like been really helpful though having the AI. So. But yeah,
True.
I think I just wanted to hear a little bit more about your story and how you got into the retreats. And I just wanted to um, put this out there for anybody who wants to attend the retreat because I think this will be really great if you can, uh, grow as a photographer, as a business owner, creative wise. And yeah, do you already have ideas for the shoot or like the different shoot?
I do.
Okay.
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do. So basically, yeah, the locations are already set. Of course, there are some organizations still, like the brands and the stylists and the styling. But it's in the process and it's very cool. I already can say that we will shoot with horses as well in the landscape of Tuscany, which is really cool. One shoot, and there will be three different models, and yeah, they all would look. I will also have three different kind of types of models, so it's not all the same. So there's like really a diversity of models, looks, locations. So it will be really, yeah, it will be really nice and special. So I'm looking forward to it. Can't
Yeah,
wait.
exciting.
Yes.
I'm so excited.
Yes.
All right. Well, I will wrap this up now because I think, well, I have I have stuff to do. I have a meeting soon.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
it was so nice to just like share
It
your
was.
story, hear more about
Thank
your
you.
process, and I look forward to hearing more about that at the retreat where I can actually ask you more detailed info that like,
Yes.
people pay for. So, but
Thank you
yeah,
so much for
yeah.
inviting me.
And I think you did great for this being your first podcast
Yeah. Oh,
interview.
well, I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope so. Yeah.
Yeah, no, the whole point is to inspire people and to share your story
Yeah.
and, invite people to your
Yeah.
retreat. And yeah, I love
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
hearing about the stories. And yeah, I hope this can help somebody else as well. So
Yeah. I hope
amazing.
so too.
Thank you so much for being
Yeah.
here. And I'll put all the info on how people can find you in the show notes. So if you want to attend the
Perfect.
retreat, just click on the link. Hopefully, there's going to be a spot available for you. So, all right.
Yes.
Bye.
Okay. Bye.